Well, I want to say thank you to all of you for being here today and for taking the time to learn a little bit about the state of the city. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the way we are positioning ourselves for business. Our city council for a number of years has put a real emphasis on positioning ourselves for business, making sure that we're ready and working hard to be a good option for businesses to stay and to grow. We've had some wonderful experiences, which Mayor Little will get into in a few minutes. But generally, we have found that in today's competitive environment, it is necessary to consider providing assistance to businesses to get them to consider moving here. And the council adopted in 2011 an overall business assistance plan, which lays out a number of goals that are listed here to try and make sure that businesses understand that we think there is a public benefit to having businesses grow here, and if we need to assist businesses, we will do so in some fashion, and we do that through the use of tools. One of the goals of our strategic plan for economic development was to create a toolbox of incentives, and our Economic Development Commission recently recommended and the City Council adopted two specific policies on tools, one of which we've used before and one of which we haven't. The tax increment financing, you may have heard of tax increment financing in the past. Tax increment financing has been used here. It is a method in which the development helps pay for infrastructure improvements, project costs. Depending on the project, the tool can be flexible in how it's used. But in essence, the city has the ability to capture the new taxes that are generated by that business and then funnel those back into paying for some of the costs of that project. Tax abatement is also a tool that has not been used here before. And abatement's somewhat similar, but in the case of abatement, it's generally the city's portion that is returned to the property owner to help pay for some of the costs that they incur. And we do have specific goals that we're trying to accomplish, and we try to make sure that we're using the tools in such a fashion that the project is meeting a public benefit. It's very easy to give money to businesses for the private benefit, but we try to make sure that as we're looking at these tools, we're meeting public goals. And they can range from either just expanding tax base to creating employment to providing infrastructure, those kinds of activities. I'd also like, I know we have one or two of our members of the Economic Development Commission here. The EDC works very hard at meetings to provide advice to the City Council on economic development, and they helped us with our marketing goals and our tagline. They help us in our creation of this toolbox of incentives, and they continue to meet. Members of the EDC, I know Glenn is here. I think others may be as well. Would you please stand? Let's recognize those. See Dan Vlasic back there? And I like to say that we have a relationship, a good relationship with the Chamber, that we have a cross-pollination of their efforts at economic development with ours. And we meet and talk on a regular basis about those goals. One of the projects that we recently entered into in our toolbox is a joint powers agreement with Dakota County CDA and the various cities in Dakota County, and it's called Open to Business. Open to Business is a nonprofit organization that will help new businesses and existing businesses in their growing concerns. Open to Business has office hours at Lakeville City Hall. They have office hours at other city halls as well. But in essence, there are times when normal and regular kinds of banking and other financing doesn't work well. Open to Business will help get those gap areas covered. The person that is working with Lakeville is Lori Crow. Lori's with us today. I'm not sure where she's sitting. Lori, thank you. Lori will be having office hours. I've got, I think she brought business cards along. So if you have interest in getting some advice and some help in plans you may have for growing your business, please contact Lori. Or you can also contact City Hall. She will be there on a regular basis. So one of the things that we all know is that there's 4 seasons: fall, winter, spring, and construction season. This year, construction season is going to be the largest season of the year. Spring is already late, and based on the plans for street projects in town, summer construction is going to be a long and enduring process. Many of you have heard. If you haven't heard, you need to hear about the I-35 maintenance project that is being planned by MnDOT. This project was conceived last fall and will be coming out this spring. The I-35 maintenance project runs all the way from Eagan to Elko, and it's being done in 3 basic phases. The first is a reconstruction of what's called a flyover bridge for southbound 35E as it crosses over 35W. I think we've all taken that trip. That bridge deck on that bridge is actually going to be removed and a new bridge deck put on top. That'll require a 1-month closure of southbound I-35E. To say that's going to be disruptive is to be very short in an explanation. From the north of that area, there's going to be some reconditioning of the roadways up to Eagan. That'll be happening in the spring months of this year. And then starting in roughly June, July, there will be reconstruction, or re-maintenance, I should say, of the surface between the split down to Elko Newmarket. And that's going to require that they close one direction of the road and reduce the traffic down to 1 lane in each direction. That will create significant problems. And we expect significant traffic congestion, not just on the freeway, but on the side roads, the county roads, and the various ways in which people are going to get around. You need to be aware of this. You need to go to that website and get a sense of what's going to be happening and start planning accordingly, not only for yourself, but for your employees, for people that frequent your businesses. It can only be disruptive. MnDOT is holding an open house this Thursday, next Thursday, March 28th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the water treatment facility in Lakeville. That'll be a chance to ask questions, learn more about the project. They also have a website which contains some static information, but I think a conversation with them is appropriate if you have need for that roadway. Look for your detour routes, because construction's happening in other parts of the community as well. In Lakeville, at 205th and Kenrick, the city is planning to construct a roundabout at that intersection this year. We were planning to also redo the surface of Kenrick between 205th and 185th. Because of the state maintenance project, we're holding that off for a year. We don't want to be under construction with that roadway at the same time as I-35, but this roundabout will actually help some of the traffic that we expect will be detouring along Kenrick during that summer months. We will start this project this spring, and our goal is to have it completed before the maintenance project comes to Lakeville. You should also be aware that we're doing a corridor study of the County Highway 50 corridor between County Road 60, or 185th, and Dodd Road. This section of road has come to a point where the capacity of a 2-lane road is really reaching its capacity. And the study that's being conducted by the county, along with the city, is really looking at what's the future for this roadway. What kind of traffic control, access, and local street connection issues do we have? Are we going to have as we approach development? So we're really looking out over the next 25, 30 years at the needs of this corridor. There are several neighborhoods, business areas, a school, all access only from this road. And so there are construction-related issues. Ultimately, the need here is going to be the creation of a 4-lane roadway. The question is one of timing and what kinds of traffic control will be taking place. You're probably also aware that the intersection of County Road 50 and 60, which is 185th and Kenwood Trail, is slated for improvements next year. The 5060 project will be a 2-lane roundabout project. Roundabouts have been found to be both safer and less expensive, less intrusive on neighboring properties, and is planned to be constructed next year. Part of the 50 corridor study was also looking at the impacts of this roundabout on that southern leg of County Road 50. But I also want to point out that if you look closely at this very small picture, there will be a 4-lane construction to the north of this intersection, and there will be a 4-lane construction to the west of this intersection, which only leaves the southern and the eastern legs of 185th and 50 to someday be upgraded to a greater capacity than currently. Also this year, just continuing with the theme of you can't get there from here, we are reconstructing the intersection of Dodd Road and Highview Avenue this year. Another roundabout project. We're going to be working with the county to extend the 4-lane section from Lifetime through this intersection to the next local road, which is Hayes. And we will also be reconstructing 175th up to the intersection, we'll be doing Dodd to 175th to complete that section of roadway as well. This area is of such a design that it will require a closure of that intersection for a period of time as well. Since we have really a lack of good east-west corridors through the community, this is one of the main corridors. And if you travel this particular intersection at various peak hours, you know the kinds of backups that occur there. That's primarily east-west traffic. The north-south is not as significant, but this roundabout is intended to make that traffic flow much better than it does today. So it's going to be a busy year of construction, and we certainly are looking forward to having it completed, but want you to be aware of those projects and invite you to call us if you have any questions or concerns about how those projects are progressing. That ends my comments, and it's my opportunity now to invite Lakeville's Mayor, Matt Little, to come and provide the State of the City.
I have a number of thank yous before I begin. First is I want to thank Steve Milkey and staff for delivering their report, as well as their work in compiling much of the information that's in my address. I also want to thank council members, current and also past council members, for all the hard work and dedication to the city that has gotten us to this point. I know Councilmember Reeb is here tonight, and we certainly wouldn't be in the position we are now if it wasn't for her leadership. So I'd like to ask for a round of applause for Councilmember Reeb. I do want to thank the Chamber, Todd Bornhauser and Sheila Longi, for their leadership and advocacy on behalf of the businesses in Lakeville and putting on this event. Also, Stonebrook Wealth Management, the sponsor of the event. And finally, Brackett's Crossing. They put on an excellent meal every time. It's probably the one good meal a month I get. So a round of applause for those people as well. As we have seen, by virtually every measure, the state of Lakeville, our city, is strong. The future of our city is bright because it is built on our enduring past. The people here today represent some of the finest leaders of Lakeville. Whether from the business, nonprofit, or public sectors, each of you has played a crucial role in building Lakeville's present strength. As we move forward, we must all work together to build Lakeville's bright future. Today, I will examine Lakeville's present and future through the lens of its enduring past. In my inaugural speech, I used the metaphor of a small town square. Although Lakeville doesn't have a physical town square, and don't worry, I'm not proposing we build one. The metaphor is still useful. Lakeville's figurative town square is filled with businesses and anchored by churches, schools, the police, and fire stations, City Hall, and finally, in the center, is Pioneer Plaza. This vision of my hometown may seem pretty old-fashioned, but it's important to me because although Lakeville is now a big city, I still want to be a small-town mayor. In our ideal town square, every organization, every person has a job to do and a role to play, in the right balance, at the right time. But how can we strike that balance? How can we keep proper time? How can our city keep moving forward and not be left behind? To answer such questions, we must synthesize newfound tradition and old-fashioned innovation. And so we'll take a walking tour through 3 of Lakeville's neighborhoods: jobs and business, development and infrastructure, and public safety and city services. Most of Lakeville's town square is filled with shops, services, and restaurants. In 2012, Lakeville added 35 new businesses, bringing our citywide total to over 1,097 employers. These businesses create 15,273 jobs and an enviable unemployment rate of only 5.4%. Lakeville's employers, large and small, create the jobs, the wealth, and the public spirit that animates our town. Each Lakeville job creates a local multiplier effect that echoes throughout the community as more people spend and live near their work. We have seen a parade of new businesses entering and expanding Lakeville's Main Street Mercantile. As you probably know, Malto Meal, now Mom Brands, will move its corporate headquarters and 100 new jobs to Lakeville in 2014. A long list of major corporations, including ConAgra, Uponor, National Polymers, and Genpack, have recently completed significant expansions in Lakeville. We also had excellent growth in small businesses, with new additions ranging from MI5 Fitness and the new Perfectly Random store that moved in right downtown. But Lakeville can't rest on its laurels. We must maintain a business-friendly climate if we wish to keep growing jobs. Of course, most of that work must be done by the private sector. But City Hall has a role to play, not to pick winners and losers, but in its traditional role as referee and facilitator. In keeping with that tradition, we should move forward with key proposals to expand Lakeville's business-friendly reputation. The Open to Business program will offer technical assistance and capital for startups and existing small businesses. We've already begun implementing our new business marketing strategy, which will enhance our regional position and increase Lakeville's visibility in the regional marketplace. And finally, the proposed business incentive package, when fully enacted, would offer tax incentives and tax increment financing to businesses that add new jobs or open new locations in Lakeville. Programs like these can build partnerships between City Hall and the business community and ensure Lakeville has a bright and prosperous future. In addition to partnering with businesses, Lakeville must build, maintain, and streamline its infrastructure and development process. These are essential city functions that can cultivate a fertile climate for job growth and neighborhood development. In fact, last year marked a strong resurgence for Lakeville's housing market. The city issued 393 permits for new residential units in 2012. That was the highest in Dakota County and 4th highest in the Twin Cities. Even better, single-family home permits more than doubled in 2012, from 118 to 279. That's the highest level since 2004. Exciting signs of Lakeville's economic resurgence can be found in even the most mundane statistics. Our Public Works Department laid more new roads than any time since 2006. They reconstructed more local roads and filled more potholes than any year on record. Public Works also delivered over 2.5 billion gallons of water to 19,000 households. That's the most in Lakeville's history. These signs tell us our big small town is growing even bigger. A bit off center of the town square, the new Heritage Center opened up last year. It was built with the generous donations of local citizens and over 2,600 hours of volunteer work. It is now home to the Lakeville Senior Center, Historical Society, and Yellow Ribbon Group. That building symbolizes the best of my hometown civic spirit. Like the Heritage Center, Lakeville's Art Center passed a new landmark with over 50,000 attendees in 2012, the highest in its history and one of the highest rates in the region. Naturally, many of our achievements are the result of our outstanding public servants. Through the work of our fire department and Chief Meyer, Lakeville's ISO fire safety rating was elevated, and as a result, our homes and businesses are safer and will pay less in property insurance rates. Thanks to the excellent work of our police department and Chief Von Hoff, Lakeville was recognized this year as one of the 100 safest cities in America. In addition, Officer Andy Henches was named the School Resource Officer of the Year by Minnesota Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And of course, Lakeville's Parks and Recreation Director, Steve Machad, retired after 38 years of keeping Lakeville lean and green. Steve was Lakeville's first Parks Director, and over his 4 decades of outstanding service, he built Lakeville's park system into a verdant public commons with 58 parks and 27 green spaces covering 1,105 acres of parkland and 468 acres of conservation reserve. Today, that park system provides Lakeville families with a natural space to gather, celebrate, and just play. But while we praise Steve's green thumb, don't forget the other kind of green this investment has grown. Our parks, like the Heritage and Arts Center, increase property values, create higher value developments, and entice business relocation, and allow our schools to attract families to live and work in Lakeville. Finally, our tour of Lakeville's town square takes us over to City Hall. It's not the largest or the most important building around the square, but the mayor and city council have a part to play, along with everyone else. And of all the things City Hall should do well, the most important thing is listen. Those of us on the city council must continue to listen to citizens, the businesses, the homeowners, the kids, the parents, and yes, even to each other. Of course, when Lakeville was smaller and times were slower, a mayor could walk around the town square to take the pulse of the people. Now, with a population of over 57,000, that's just not practical. And so, being the practical folks that we Americans are, we must adapt. I have proposed and we have begun to build a virtual town square where Lakeville citizens can watch council meetings and other events online. Better still, we want Lakeville citizens to post their own ideas on websites, YouTube, Facebook, and the infamous Twitter. We want to listen to Lakeville, and we will use all the tools available, old and new, to make certain we are hearing what you have to say. Gone are the days when the entire town square of Lakeville could meet in the Pioneer Plaza. But the Envision Lakeville Task Force promises to serve as a modern town square space. The task force will hold 4 town hall meetings over the next few weeks to listen and learn. This is an important way for City Hall to gather opinions and suggestions from everyone. This is how Lakeville citizens can learn from each other and how City Hall can learn from Lakeville. And yet, despite all of my talk of virtual town squares and social media, in my heart of hearts, I'm not willing to give up my small town vision of Lakeville. There are some things that still require face-to-face conversation. And to be practical again, in-person meetings are often quicker and more efficient than email or text messages. So I'm also proposing that the City Council hold brief special meetings when businesses and developers need urgent, quick approvals. In my opinion, there's no reason developers should risk a project because the City Council isn't meeting for another 2 weeks. These meetings might be face-to-face in the council chambers, or they might be done by teleconference or even online. Now, on the other hand, for those of you who share my small town vision of Lakeville, I'm also instituting the mayor's office hours every Thursday morning up at City Hall. Coming up, we'll have a cup of coffee and chat for a while. Because truth be told, I'd rather shake your hand, look you in the eye, and just talk. By all these measures and many more, the state of Lakeville, our city, is strong. Lakeville's small town past has given this city a firm foundation for the future. Our tour around Lakeville's fictional town square is just a metaphor, only a vision for bringing the past and present together. But visions from our past can become the realities of our future. In this case, the town square vision isn't meant to imply that we need another physical meeting space. Instead, it's a vision of Lakeville where everyone has a part to play and job to do to build a better city and forge a brighter future. Thank you.